Hello and how are you? I welcome you to the 11th video of creating WhatsApp chat application. My name is Mahino Bark, and in today's video we're going to look at the logic of sending the message from the mobile application to the server, as well as collecting the chats that are already in the server and sync them with the with the mobile. That's what we're going to do in today's video, and I hope you're ready to do this with me. If you are, then let's get started. You remember in the last video we were able to list the users of our application, and when we click on user we could tell which user we have clicked on. If you were following, you were able to reach that point. Okay, so today we're going to now open the chat, or to open the chat thread between two people. So I hope you reached this point whereby we could click on certain user and we tell that we've clicked on a certain user, on a particular user. Now here is where I'm going to do the logic of doing what? Of opening the chat application. Let me run the application again, and you remember, so that we should be on the same page. I'll run the application again so that we should remind you, and will be on the same page at the moment. This is where we were. So if I open pick a user, you see, to load the users from our database and display them in our application. And if I click on a user, you see we're getting a list here that we clicked on, so and so. I will try to use a toast message. It was not working in this emulator, but right now we can tell that we clicked on a certain particular user. So at this point, when you click on a user, we want to close this user's activity, and then do what? And then start application. Start a chat between you and the person that you've clicked on. So to do that, what we do here, we have to do what we call a result activity. When we open this activity, let me show you. Let me first expand here. Okay, I want to explain some point here. Okay, we have to go to adaptive chats. To the activity of chats. Is it? It's here. So here, when we're opening, when we click on the pick user, what is pick user? Okay, when we clicked on pick user here, you see here, this is the place where we clicked on pick user. So, but it had to take us to another activity. So it means that the communication between these two activities, for pick this one where we had to click on a button of picking a user, and the other activity where we list the users and you click on a particular user, it's not there. There's no communication. So you have to establish a communication in a way that if we clicked, these are two activities. If we clicked on this user's activity, if we clicked on a particular user, we should be able to tell that we've clicked on a certain user, and we tell this previous activity that open pick user, we tell it a specific user that we've clicked on. Okay, so to do that, we do what we call a result activity. Open what we call result activity, and to do that, you just simply say, instead of saying start activity, here you change it to sorry, these shortcuts are still disturbing me. Okay, so you change it to, instead of saying start activity here in the chats activity, here where there is pick user, instead of saying start activity, we'll have to expect something back, like to know where the user clicked on. So here we put start result activity. Start, is it like that? Something like that. Start result activity. This is start activity for results. Okay, start activity for results. So here it takes two parameters. One, it takes the intent, like just before, and the second one, it takes the code. So this code is the one that will identify that we clicked on a particular user. Okay, so you can manually write it, or you can make a constant and then you put it there. So I can say 1. So I'll know that if the code that is coming back is 1, I'll know that is I'm the one who launched that, which is the one for picking a user. So to do that, now we have to listen to the response. Like after the user on the other side, we have clicked on on a certain user, we have to get the response and know the code and know the ID of the user that we've clicked on. So here we have to do another thing. We have to override on result activity. I hope that's how we write it, on result, something like that. Yeah, I think write on result and then press enter. They'll write it for you. So you see here, when the other activity, when we'll be picking a certain user, we'll be returning back. And here when we return, so we'll be checking if there is any result from what we've returned. So what they'll send to us, they'll send us a request code. You see here we sent a request code, okay, and also a result code, okay, and then the data that we clicked on. So this is going to be what the intent. So we have to check first if the result code is the one for picking user. So I'll just simply say if this result code is equal to 1, you know, pick a user, will say it is 1, the result code. So if it is 1, then we'll know that we've clicked on a certain user, and then we'll have our data in our intent in this in this data. So I can first check if data dot has, okay, has extra, and we check if it has extra. Maybe I will be sending back the user ID, user underscore ID. If it has extra of user ID, then I'm going to put here in the console, loccat. I'll have to collect it, of course, okay. I have to collect that sender. I'll have to collect that ID. So I can call it a receiver string. I'm going to call it what? Receiver equals, so I'll have to collect this one from this data. So I say equals data dot what dot get string, something like that, get string extra, and I pass user ID. I first check if it is there. If it's there, then I'll get it, okay. So after getting it, I'll first check if it's not null. Receiver ID, let me call it receiver ID, okay. I can check if receiver ID is not equal to null. That's too much security even. And I again check if this receiver ID dot is empty, is not empty. And then lastly, I can know that someone has clicked on what, has selected a certain user. So I can put here console console dot what, logged in. I'm writing JavaScript here, logged in, okay, and I can say picked, and then here we specify the user that has been picked, okay. So here it is in the what, in the activity of all chats. So here, so can, if you want to start a chat, so you can pick a user and you can tell back that this the user has done what, that has been picked. But here the difference is we use start activity result. So let's go ahead and create this logcat, log d. So just write log what, log t, right, in small letters, log t, and then you'll be able to create this constant automatically. Okay, so after doing that, now on the other side we have to put also some magic. On the other side we have to do some little magic. First of all, we can use that user's activity for many things. We can use the other activity for many things, for many things, the activity of users. So let us not limit it only to this task of picking a user. So to do that, you have to specify that the task that is being implemented at a particular time. So I'm going to add here what, an intent. In this intent, I'm going to add here the task that I want to do at this particular time. So I dot what, dot put extra, right, dot put extra, because I want to reuse that start activity. So I can go and add here task, and I put here the task is pick user, pick underscore user, something like that. So here I'll be checking if the task is of pick user, then I'll do the things for the pick user. If the task is not for pick user, I can use that very activity for other things, the user's activity. So let's go ahead and write now the logic of what, of user activity. So let's go ahead and write the logic of picking a user in the user's activity now, okay. So press Ctrl and click on this user activity so that we can be here. So I hope we're together, right? I hope I'm not too fast, okay. So let me go back. This is the user's activity now, okay. Now I'm going to specify here a string of task, and I'm going to make it nothing for now. Okay. So here the first thing that I'll be doing, I'll be checking if there is a task in the context. So to do this, I can say, in the intent. So I can come here after initializing the context. I can just say get intent, and then add dot has extra called task. Okay, task. Okay, I'm just checking if there is any task. Okay, so this one has to be surrounded with if condition. No, if condition. Okay, so I'll first check if there is task. Then has extra task, and then I'll have to do what to collect the task. Okay, so the task is going to be task equals get intent dot what get intent dot get string extra, and I pass task. So here I'm getting the task. Okay, in case there is any task. Okay, I'm getting the task. So I can check here if the task is null. I just make it back to equal to null. I make it back to nothing. Okay, so that's it. That's just for getting the task that I'm doing at that particular time. So after doing that, already, of course, we have already done all the logic here. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to check now on the click listener. Like if someone clicks on a certain thing, we will do what? We will get that task. Okay, we'll check if the task is for click, and then we do the things. If the task is for picking a user, and then we do the things that are related to what? To picking user. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come here and say, so where the click listener, this is where there's a click listener. You remember adapter.set on click listener. This is where we did that logic of click listener here inside the initializing the recycler view and the rest. So here it's where we did that logic of picking a what of of clicking on a user. Like if someone clicks on a user, we can tell from here that a certain user was clicked on. I hope you can reach that point. It's just those things of recycler view and adapter things. Okay, so let me take you to the auto adapter. This is our adapter. Let me see if there's anything of local. Okay, so this is our adapter of user, and this is where we did the click listener. So when someone clicks on the user, we just get the view and also get the object that we clicked on and the position. So here in this user's chart here, it's where we know that we've clicked on something. So when you click on something, what we're going to do, we're going to check if there is a task, if the task is for picking a user, right? So I'm just simply say if task is equals what, I'll go back here and copy this word that we sent exactly here. It is pick user, right? I'm going to check if it is for pick user. If the task is for pick user, now here are the things that we do. So I'll have to do what? I'll have to do the things for notifying the previous adapter that we've picked a user and we picked a particular user. So to do that, I will have to create an intent. Okay, so it's going to be intent. I hope that's it. No, wait, let me first check. Let me first see if that's the way. I already did something like this. Result activity. Finish. This is another project. Okay. Okay. There's something that I've just forgotten right now. I think. Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Use activity. Finish. Just intent. So here we have to notify the previous, sorry for that delay. Here we have to notify the previous activity. that we have finished picking the certain user, and this is the user ID that we picked. So to do that, we just create an intent and then say equal to new intent, just like normal intent. And then after, you have to pass here, you have to add the extras that you want to pass to the previous user. So you have to put, the previous user is expecting what? Is expecting a user ID. I mean, the previous activity is expecting a what? A user ID. So you have to add an intent dot put what? Put extra, and then we are going to send back the user underscore ID because what is being expected. And then here we pass the user ID. Of course, the user ID will come in this object here. Okay, so you say obj dot what? Dot user ID, like this. Then after doing that, then we have to return back. I mean, we have to first set the result activity. So just simply set result, set result, like that. You say set result and you pass the intent. Okay, so after passing the intent, you pass the intent. So you have to pass here the, is it activity dot okay, something like that. Activity dot ok result okay, like that. Yeah, right. Yeah, like this. So you pass activity dot result okay, and then after doing like this, then you have to finish. Okay, you have to finish this application, so that it should go back this activity, and then you make sure that you return, so that it should not go beyond here. So by doing that, I hope it's going to work. So here we just use this activity to pick a certain user. So we check if the task is for picking a user just, and then what we do is here intent equals intent new activity, and then you put the extra user activity. Okay, we pass the extra, and then you set the result activity. You pass the activity okay, and then you put the intent that you've just set here, and then you finish. Okay, so when you finish, this activity of chats will automatically, since we started here as a result activity, so when you finish, automatically this activity of chats will come back. It will come back the activity of chats, and then it will execute this on activity result. Okay, and then we'll check if the code is one and it has the user ID, and then you check if the user ID is not null, then we'll put in our what, in our console that we've picked this particular user. I hope that is going to work. Let's run the application and see if it's okay. So here we go. Here's our emulator. So I'm going to open the card, I mean the low card, okay, so that you can be able. So I can filter here. We just copy this on result and filter it here. Okay, and then we come back there. So I click on pick user. It's loading the users. So they're the users. Let me pick this last user. You can see there's something that has come. There's some error, right? You cannot tell which user has been picked on. Okay, attempt to cast an external cannot be set as Java string, cannot cast a Java string. There's some error, right? Let's see which error is it. Let me first remove this filter. I'll have to clear everything, and then we look for this error and fix it. Pick user. Okay, now click on user. As if there was no error. Click here and we see which error is it. String generated. Okay, the thing is returning back, but this string, I think we should make it a global variable, cannot cast to Java lang string. Okay, let's get string extra and pass the name. Let's make it a global variable and we see. Okay, I just make it a global variable and we see. So it is silver IDs code data dot get string extra, like that. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah. Okay, let's run it again and we see. Okay, pick user. I think I've known the problem. The problem is again there's an error, of course. The problem is the problem is our string is a what? Is an integer. Our user ID is an integer. So, and here we are collecting it as a what? As a string. That's the problem. So we have either to convert it to integer or to convert to string. Have you ever seen put string, put integer, put integer? No. Okay, let's convert it to string. Okay, let's convert to string, and then when we want to do anything else, we can convert back to integer. So I'll have to add here to string here. So just simply add the plus and equal sign to convert to string. I think then this problem will be solved. You see, here in the user's activity, I'm just converting it to string. Then the problem should be solved, I hope. Okay, so I have to come back here to charts, and so it was an integer. I think that's why. So I'll run the application again. I'll run the application again. So I'll copy this. If I want to filter, paste it here. Delete this garbage. Okay, it's taking a minute to run. So there we go. So I'll click on pick user. It's loading, no user found. It's loading, okay. And then when I click on a particular user, let's say this one. Perfect. You can see you picked user with the ID of this. Then we click another user and select another user. You pick the user with the ID of this one. You see, that is perfect. That's beautiful. Now you see it loads, gets to us the users. You click on a user, you know the ID. So there we know the ID. So what? That's it. Now now it's time to start the chat application, right? But before we start the chat application, first of all, we have known the receiver, right? Because we are the senders. So we have to get the logged in user. Okay, we have to get the logged in user, and so the logged in user will be the ID of the logged in user will be the sender, and the ID of the that we've just picked of the another user will be the what? The receiver. So this is logout. This logout. Okay, let us get do you have the logged in users got? Not yet, right? Not yet. So let's go ahead and create the logged in user here. Okay, logged in user model. I'm going to call it also logged in user model equals new logged in user. Okay, let's equate it to null by default. Okay, and then we have to initialize it here. Where after here in bind views, maybe in bind views. So after binding some views, let us go ahead and get it from here. I write here a method that will get the logged in user get. After initializing the repository, right? Get logged in underscore user. Okay, this method is the one that's going to get the logged in user. I can as well put it here. Let me put it there. After initializing the repository, we get the logged in user, right? Or you can even get it from down here, no problem. Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and create this method. Alt and enter. Create the method here. So it's going to be the database repository dot what dot get logged in user. Of course we have it. Dot add what dot observe, and then we pass the owner, which is context, and then we pass new observer. I didn't know these things, but when you keep on doing them, you just know them. Okay, so we check if logged in user dot exist. Do you have exist? Okay, if is equal to null, we can make a toast that this user was not found. Okay, toast, you are not logged in. We return you back from where you came from by clicking on finish. Okay, in case the user ID was not found, and then we return. Okay, so after doing that, in case it is found, then we'll initialize this one, our okay, let me put here, just put you, because it's going to cause a conflict. Always cause a conflict. Okay, so logged in user equals what? Equals you, like that. Okay, so that's it. So I have to make this one a what, and make to cast it into what, like that. Okay, so here I hope we are together, right? Here we're just getting the logged in user, right? The spelling is wrong, but you can get the point. Logged in user, I have to correct it also. Logged in user, perfect. Okay, so now when you're starting a chat application, now here after picking the user here, this is the place where we picked the user, remember, right? So I have to check if the receiver, the sender is the logged in user, and the receiver is the what? Is the user that we've picked. So I have to check if the receiver ID is not the sender's ID. So if the same, then you shall say that you cannot send the message to yourself. If it's not the same, then you can go ahead and start the chat activity. Okay, so I can remove this one. I can just leave it there. So just simply say if, okay, if logged in user dot what, dot user ID dot equals, it is an integer also, have to add there nothing dot equals the one that we just picked, which is receiver ID. If they are equal, why is it crying? Equals, and then pass this one. Okay, let us first put a bracket like this. Okay, so this one will have to add here, just convert it to string, and then we equate it if it is equals to what? The receiver ID. If it is equals to receiver ID, we just say toast you cannot send message. Okay, we just check. I cannot send message to yourself. To yourself. But my toast is not working. So I put a return. I hope it will work. Yeah, my toast is not working. So let me put just on log cat also. So let me copy this. So if these two guys are equal, you just simply say you cannot send message to what? To yourself, and then you return. Okay, otherwise you will start the what? The chat activity. Okay, we will not start the chat activity. So the chat activity is going to be a new intent intent new sorry, what's wrong with me? Okay, intent I equals new intent, and then you pass here two things: the context, that's the time remaining, the few minutes, context, and then the chat activity, right? Chat activity dot class. Okay, so after doing that, we go ahead and start the activity. Now we have to put we have to put the sender and the receiver. So dot put sender. Okay, let's put the sender. Okay, so the sender is going to be put put extra sender underscore ID, and we pass there. The sender ID is equal to what? Logged in what? Logged in user dot user ID, and then we change it to string by adding just that. Okay, and put the semicolon. So put the sender's ID. We'll go ahead and put also Ctrl Shift D, Ctrl D. Sorry, why is not duplicating? Okay. So after doing that, we go ahead and add also the receiver ID. You have the receiver ID. You have the receiver ID. Okay, so receiver ID is going to be the receiver ID itself. Remove these codes. I mean this. Okay, after putting the receiver ID, then we start the activity. And then you pass the intent. Okay. So that's it. Okay, so I think that's it. Okay. So make sure that you don't put finish here, because if you put finish, then it will go to the very first place. Okay, so on the other side, let's go ahead and collect. Let us first run the application at this point. Why are they showing this? Let's run the application and see what we've got so far. Okay, here's the application. So I click on pick user. And I pick this last one. I hope that's not me. I hope it's me. That's why it's let us see in the logcat. You pick this user. Do you have anything? Okay, let's go ahead and pick another one. Okay, let me pick this one. We are Halima. Oh, why? Why is not starting? You cannot send message to yourself, and you picked this one. Okay, so let us see here. Maybe I'm not starting the activity. Okay, start activity, and then you pass intent context. Let's start activity, right? Okay, start activity. Okay. Okay, the activity is not starting. Let us see why. So I'll just simply come here to, maybe there's some finish, to chats activity. I hope there is maybe something like finish, which is returning us back. Yeah, you see this guy. This is chats, right? No. Chats activity. Oh yeah, we are starting the very same activity. It's supposed to be chat, not chats. Okay, so we have to run the application again. It's supposed to be chat, not chats. So we're starting the same activity again and again. That is so bad. Okay, there we go. Okay, so pick a user. Let's pick this last one. Perfect. That's amazing. Okay, so now you can see that we've successfully picked this user and set them here. We've started the chat. Okay, we've started the chat side. Oh, so we start from there. So at the time, still having around 15 minutes. Okay, so let's go use those 15 minutes at least to collect the local user, the sender, and the receiver. Let us collect the information. But we have the receiver. The receiver is already logged in, so we just need to get the sender first, and then we have to set the picture of the sender here, and their last seen here, and their name here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that. It's going to take us time, but let's do it. Okay, so we have to get the receiver and the sender. So here we have the sender ID and the receiver ID. Let me first close other activities. Close others. Okay, so I'll just simply press here, Control, and click on chat activity here. Okay. So after doing that, I'm going to get this sender ID and make it a what? An ID here, a string. Okay, a string sender ID. Maybe I make it null by default. And also receiver ID. Receiver ID. Oh, it's not duplicating. Oh my god. It's not duplicating. Okay. So bad. Okay, maybe I'm not just on the shortcuts. So I have to copy this receiver ID. Okay, and make it there. So the first thing to do is to what? Is to the first thing to do is to get these sender and receiver IDs. Okay, you have to first get sender and receiver IDs. So let's go ahead and get them. So I'll have to come here in the context, and maybe let me say get sender. Oh, we can say get data. Let us get data like this. Let us say get users data. And other than just writing the whole code here, just press Alt and Enter to create this method. Okay, so there it is. So here we're going to get we're going to check if the context, I mean the intent is containing the sender and the receiver. So I just simply say if get intent that what that has extra sender ID. So I'll do the opposite. If it does not have it, I can just simply put here a toast sender ID not found, and I go sorry, sender ID not found, and I just return immediately from here. Okay, and I finish. Sorry, I finish. So the user should not go even beyond here if the user sender ID was not found. Okay, so the second thing that you have to check also the receiver ID. So let us put here just the O. So have to copy this. You see, this is if not does not exist. So I'll copy that. I'll put in the bracket and copy it, and then put O, one of the two, if one of them is not existing. So we'll have to send the user back. So I have to copy this receiver ID. I hope you've understood. Okay, if one of these is not existing, you see, if sender ID is not exist or receiver ID is not exist, if one of these does not exist, I can say sender or receiver ID not found. So and I just quit the application from there. Otherwise, I'll have to get the sender and receiver from here. Putting too much security for nothing. Sender equals get intent, and then I pass I get the sender ID. I mean get intent, and I pass just get sender ID, and get intent dot get extra. Get string, get extra string, get extra. Okay, then I get there the sender, extra string, a string extra, right? And then also receiver. Then I can check if they are empty. One of them, if it is empty, then I return. But that's unnecessary. For now, let us leave it the way it is because it's hard to hack it up to that point. Okay. So once you have the send and receiver, but you can go ahead and check if it is empty or not. So if I have the send and receiver, let's get the local data now. Let's get first of all, we have to get the receiver most, and then we update this toolbar. Okay. So we can even initialize this from here after initializing the components and the rest. Okay, you can check it from there. So let's get the receiver data, and the receiver data is going to be so we need the database interface. So I'll come and correct it here. Database repository, sorry. Database repository, and then I'll have to do what? I'll have to initialize it here on top, equals new dot what? It's called new database repository, and I pass the context. Let's create also the context because we may need it again so much. So I have to initialize the context before database repository equals this, and then we have to pass here the context. Sorry, here. Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, that's it. Okay, so here now I have to get the receiver's information. So I can create an object called receiver. It's going to be a user a user model object. Let me call it receiver. You don't need much of a sender. Okay, receiver, as long as you have the ID. Okay, we'll get the sender when you need an ID from him, then we'll get it. Okay, receiver equals, receiver. So I'm going to get database repository dot get user, not users. You remember we had something like dot get user, but we not create for it an interface. Okay, it is just in the interface. So let's go ahead and create for it a repository. Okay, so I'll click here. This is dot get users. I have another one dot get user. You remember I have something like that. So I don't want to repeat ourselves. Have it somewhere. This one here. Okay, but it is kind of at get user. Okay, let's create another one for get user by ID. So I'm going to duplicate this, control just copy. It's going to be get user by ID. It's going to return a single object of a user. Okay, it's going to be, I have to come to the interface and change it and create this one for get user by ID. This is the repository. So I'll press Ctrl, I'll press Alt, is it? Ctrl and click on it. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this one. Duplicate is not working. Ctrl D, Ctrl Shift D, Shift down. Oh my god, duplicate is not working. I'll copy it and put there. So this one is what? Get user by ID. So I'll come and put here get user by ID. So I have to receive here an ID. It's going to be an integer. Int user underscore ID. Okay, so I have to remove the list and I leave it as what? As a single object of user. So it's going to be select all from user table where user ID equals colon user ID, like this. Okay, so I have to copy this. This is the database interface. So I have to come here and change this one also, change it to get user by ID. So it will return live data of user ID. So here I have also to expect a what? An integer of user underscore ID. So I'll have also to expect here user ID like that. Okay, so time is up almost. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll have to come here to charts. Instead of saying get user, I'm going to put, oh my god, I'm going to put get user by what? By ID. So I have to pass here what? An integer, which is going to be receiver. It's going to be integer dot what? Dot value of, and then you pass receiver dot ID, and then you add dot observe, and then you pass the context, and then you pass comma new what? New observer, new observer, and press enter. They'll automatically write it for us, new observer. So I'll check if you know they're giving us here user model, right? User model equals to null. I can just say toast and say receiver not found on local database. Okay, and then I will finish here. I finish and then return. Okay, so after doing that, in case it is found, then I can say receiver equals equals what? Receiver equals user model. Yes, press here alt and enter. Here alt and enter like that, and they put typecast it to that. Okay, so here after getting the receiver, I have to update the UI. Let me create another function called update UI. It should be working on updating the user interface, right? Update UI. Press alt and enter here. So by default, this receiver should be initialized to avoid errors. Okay, new receiver to avoid errors. Okay, or you can check if it's not null here. So I have to do what? I have to set the title. Let us begin setting the name. Here we're having the word hi Roberts. Okay, Roberts, Roberts. Where is it? Okay, you don't have it here. Okay, so you have to use this one. Let's make this toolbar a public variable so you can access it anywhere. So you have to say toolbar the set title. So you see, so you have to make sure that you get this down while the toolbar is already initialized. Okay, get user data. Let me get it down while the toolbar is already initialized, otherwise it may cause an error. Just a minute, someone's calling me. So I get this user data here down after initializing the components. Okay, so press alt and enter. So so here after we've received, so we're updating the UI. Okay, so we have the toolbar as a global variable. This toolbar. Okay, so I have to do what? To set the title. Set title as you I mean as receiver dot what dot name. Okay, and set the subtitle as last seen. So the rest we will work on it later, but let us do that and set subtitle as receiver dot last seen. The rest logic we can work on it later, but for now that should be it. Okay, so we have to come here to the UI and remove that robots. Time is up, right? Yeah, remaining a few minutes. I'll have to remove here robots and remove this online. Oh yeah, you can as well give them an ID. Put receiver name and come and put here receiver status. I can say receiver last seen. Receiver starts with I, like that. Why is it crying then? Oh, it is receiver, not reviewer. Receiver. So we'll come here and say, sorry, where are we setting these things? Update UI here. So instead of using this toolbar, comment them. My shortcuts are not working. Okay, so it's going to be just simply open bracket here and another bracket and put text view and open another bracket here and put find view by id r.id dot receiver name and come outside here and put set text and pass receiver dot what dot name. Then I'll duplicate this one and then pass also receiver what receiver last seen receiver dot last seen. Okay, I think that's enough for today, if we can reach that point. Okay, let's first test that one and see if it is well. Then we can start from there in the next video by working on the logic of sending the messages. So there we go. So I have pick user. And then we pick a certain user, this one. There's some error. Let's remove these things. There's some error. Let's run the application again. Which error could it be? Pick user. Let's pick this last one. There's some error. Which error can it be? Let us find out, because that is also part of the journey. Right here, crash, beginning of the crash. Okay, let us see main activity on a null context, get application, invoke method. Just click here. Toolbar. Oh yeah, shit. Sorry, we did the wrong thing here. That's so bad. This toolbar has to be initialized inside here. So bad. Okay, so how to remove this one now? Let's run it again, please. I was wondering, but that's part of the journey. Okay, we'll click on pick user. And then I click on this user. Oh my god, it's another error. What's that? Click on the set display is enabled. Oh yeah. I'm using a lower version of Android as my emulator. That's the problem, I think. Let's run. But we'll fix those things. We will fix them. Okay, so we'll click on pick use again. Click there. Oh my god, what's going on? Recycler view. Okay. Null object. Okay, let me init component. Recycler view is not initialized yet. Find view by ID recycler view. Okay, I think we should start from there in the next video. How do you see? Okay, that's it. Recycler view not set. Users chat. Recycler view is there, and it's well set. So what could be the problem? And create init component. The recycler view. Set layout manager. Okay, this one you can fix later, but let me just say if true should return. Let us stop from here. Let us stop the application from here and see if so far it can work up to there. I want to see if we can fetch the local user from database. If we can do that, then we can start from there in the next video. It's taking our time. Okay, pick user, and then click on this. Yeah. So we can see the user's name and his last scene, but this last scene is not converted. We'll convert it later, but at least we can see that, and the back button. So in the next video we'll start from there, because this is a lower version of Android emulator. That's why it is doing all that stuff. But in the next video, let's start from here, where we're going to get the messages from from database online, from the server, and save them on the local database. Yeah, so we start from there. Please don't give up. Don't give up. Just make sure that we complete this journey. That is the source code. You can also write your own logic, but related, okay? And I will share this source code after completing the whole series. Okay, we start from the next video, and I hope you'll be there. Thank you for watching at this point. Let's meet in the next video.